Good morning, crime community. I'm here to read part of the Unaliving of the President by Robet Grodens. There's a picture that's pretty interesting. It's a blow up of a police officer. The blast from the bullet, the dust is blowing off in his face. You can see his badge and everything else. The conspiracy of silence. There were two conspiracies involved in the killing of the president. First was responsible for the design and execution of the murder. The second covered up evidence and silenced witnesses. Both the Warren Commission and the House Assassinations Committee investigations deliberately chose to distort and suppress the damning evidence of conspiracy shown in the autopsy reports. Many individuals may have taken part in the cover-up unwittingly, but the premeditated acts of distortion and forgery in connection with the medical evidence makes it obvious that many of these accessories, after the fact, knew exactly what they were doing. After 30 years of research and 5 investigations, the assassination of JFK is still under scrutiny, though not by any federal body. The killing of Robert Kennedy has yet to be investigated. The files from the House Assassination Committee investigation are locked away, inaccessible to the public until the year 2029. In spite of this impasse, there are individuals outside the government purview for whom the case is not closed. Their efforts to clarify the events of the assassination and cover-up are reflected research articles, books, and film. This work is a potent reminder that we have an ongoing responsibility to examine and monitor our affairs of state. Those who conspired to kill JFK were successful in doing so, but the conspirators' efforts to cover up the crime was less successful. The premature silencing of Oswald and the startup of the Warren Commission investigation temporarily mollified a nation vulnerable and stunned by the assassination. The American public had no choice but to trust their government would bring John Kennedy's assassin to justice. The killing of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy presaged the slow erosion of public trust that resulted from the Johnson and Nixon administrations and culminated with the Watergate scandal. Persistent Warren Commission critics were finding evidence of conspiracy and were not working to expose government intelligence and media in the cover-up through the CIA's manipulation of propaganda and media assets. The powerful collusion of conspiracy of silence and suppression that plagued the Garrison and House Assassination Committee investigations is the shadow enemy we are fighting, and we must continue to fight. Important evidence is still being suppressed and obscured through governmental stonewalling, through misinformation and disinformation tactics. This book contains a great deal of new and relevant evidence of the Kennedy case. Some of the newest revelations appear in this chapter, but there is important and unseen information waiting to be examined. President John F. Kennedy's Assassination Act of 1992 was enacted as a result of public outcry following the release of the movie JFK. The act requires any federal agency holding unreleased documents related to the assassination to catalog and transfer them to the National Archives. By June 1993, this review body has still not been appointed, partly because former President and CIA Director George Bush left office with the needed records in his possession. It is our collective responsibility to not even unwittingly participate in the continuing cover-up. A danger of this is insidious and subtle. It is unlikely that anyone who has actively involved in the assassination is now in the position of real power, but the legacy of the assassination remains. As key participants in the cover-up pass away and the memories of the assassination fade, we must continue to keep watch, insisting on accountability from our elected officials and institutions. That brings us back to more unidentified people called The Uniform Man. And there might be something else in the James Manning book about more unidentified. I wonder if I should just leave this till tomorrow. I guess I'll just leave this till tomorrow, or maybe just read the first guy. 20 people who knew about the JFK murders before it happened. If you knew in advance, what would you do? Case number 1, Robert Case Nagel, Nagell. Richard Case Nagel was born in Greenwich, New York on August 5th, 1930. This guy is the most important person in the case, and nobody even knows who he is. Richard Case Nagel was born in Greenwich, New York on August 5th, 1930. Educated in Albany, Nagel joined the United States Army in 1948. During the Korean War, he was awarded the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart, and at the age of 20, became one of the youngest men in history to receive a field promotion to rank of captain. On November 54, Nagel suffered severe injuries in an air crash. According to Nagel, when he recovered, he began working for the CIA as a double agent. This involved becoming an activist in the American Communist Party. This included distributing Marxist propaganda in Mexico. This guy's story is going to get real interesting. Hang in there. Nagel also claimed he was involved in monitoring a group of Cuban exiles plotting against Fidel Castro. In 1963, Nagel discovered that this group was planning to assassinate JFK while making it appear that it had been ordered by Castro. When he told the KGB, they ordered him to warn Lee Harvey Oswald about what was happening. Nagel also claimed he warned FBI and CIA about the plot. In September 63, Nagel walked into a bank in El Paso, Texas, fired 2 shots into the ceiling, and then waited to be arrested. Nagel claimed he did this to isolate himself from the assassination plot. This was successful, as Nagel was charged with armed robbery and ending up spending the next 5 years in prison. In his release, Nagel told Jim Garrison about his knowledge of the assassination of JFK. He claimed that David Ferry, Guy Bannister, and Clay Shaw were involved in this plot with Lee Harvey Oswald. However, Garrison decided against using him as a witness in the court case against Shaw. Dick Russell wrote about Nagel in his book, The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1992. Nagel claimed that the initial plot to assassinate JFK was financed by Haroldson L. Hunt and other individuals. The operation was to be performed by an anti-Castro group. According to Nagel, the conspirators believed that if they set up Lee Harvey Oswald, a well-known supporter of Fidel Castro with links to the Soviet Union, the assassination would result in a full-scale war against Cuba. Richard Case Nagel was found dead on November 1st, 1995. A spokesman for the Los Angeles coroner's office said Nagel had a history of heart disease and that his body was discovered on the floor of the bathroom of his home in Rampart, Los Angeles. Richard Case Nagel somehow got involved in planning with the Kennedy assassination. Once they blamed it on Oswald, his job was to kill Oswald. But he didn't want to do that. It's unknown why, but most of the investigators believe that he did not want to be associated with the actual assassination of the American president. To protect himself from getting killed by the assassination planners, he pulled the bank stunt in El Paso and landed himself in jail on purpose. He thought he would get 6 months or maybe a year in jail because he didn't actually rob anything. But he was incarcerated for 5 years. This was one of the last people to die who knew pretty much everything about the assassination and was thought to be the last man alive who could straighten out the whole conspiracy for history. There's a little picture of Richard Case Nagel. Remember the face. All you researchers knew to do a little more research on Mr. Nagel. You think I'm speaking any truth there? We will continue on with more witnesses or possible assassins. I don't know, but if there's any truth here, please like and subscribe. Thank you.